Welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host Scott.
And today we'll be going over chapters 21 through 25 of the World Serpent Arcanist. Before we get into that, we do want to mention real quick that as of September the 26th, so roughly about a week after this airs, or a week before this airs, the second bestiary, the Plague Bestiary, and books 3 and 4 in Shammy's Frith Chronicles will be released for Kickstarter. So she's not, obviously, book's not going out yet. However, it is going open to join in the Kickstarter to get your copy reserved. So just keep that in mind. We are so excited. I know we barely have even gotten the first bestiary out, but you know what? This is amazing. I know she's saying that she's going to focus a lot on the plague-ridden bestiary sections. So not just the information of the actual Eldrin, but their plague forms, their dread forms. So we'll get a lot more information, and we're so excited. And with that, I think we're going to dive into chapter 21, the Trixibelle family.
The Frith Guild has made their way back to the Isle of Ruma, and as they're going around, Volke kind of realizes how tiny Ruma is. He's gone to a lot bigger cities between his adventures, so really getting a feel for, wow, I really came from a small town and did not realize that growing up. He forgets that Jose is still a wanted criminal on the island, so he's not used to keeping that in perspective and realizes, oh, I can't just give him a tour around, you know? He's still a wanted man. And Zaxxas very explicitly tells Volke not to do this because he would expect Volke to end up getting them both arrested.
I mean, I actually forgot about that too for a couple minutes. And then Zaxxas is like, don't you dare be thinking about bringing him around. And it's like, but oh, yeah.
The island's got all of like 4 wanted criminals in their history. Like, they're not going to forget them.
He's one of the 4 posters on their wanted board.
Yes. Atty is very nervous about taking Volke to meet her parents, and it's less about them meeting him, but more the fact that he has a true form, and that's their big goal for her. So it's going to be a lot of, if he can do it, why can't you? And she's kind of worried about some of that parental pressure coming in.
I think that she also kind of mentions that she wants Volke there because of his true form, as a show of, if Volke can do it, I can do it. So I think it's very much so on same coin, 2 different sides. Like she's nervous because he has a true form, and how, if he made it, how didn't she? But on the other hand, it's the like, well, but Volke has made true form, so if he could do it, I can do it.
It is. It's a lot of back and forth, and probably a lot of in the moment, which side of the coin am I on?
Mm-hmm.
As they're walking around the town, Fane is with them and complaining about the heat. This really isn't a surprise. He's bonded to a Wendigo, which are Arctic animals. Adelgis is listening into everyone's thoughts, and unfortunately, most of those thoughts are about Volke returning. He is one of the other 4 criminals on the island, and everyone really expects him to be violent or to cause some sort of disruption. As they're walking around, Fane asks where the entertainment is. You can make your assumptions about what that is. He's used to be a pirate. He does mention they also used to go see like waterfalls and other cool natural elements, but I think he's more looking for a tavern. But there are none of those on the island, unfortunately.
Where's all the women at? Why is the rum gone?
But the rum. We do get a nice reintroduction to our favorite schoolmaster, so we'll call out back to the Nightmare Arcanist, and he explicitly calls Volke out and wants him apprehended.
I literally almost instantly lost it as soon as he was reintroduced. Like, I don't even know if it was the first full sentence of him being back in the picture and calling Volke out, and I'm just like, no,
not him again.
Yes. Freaking Umbridge.
It is Umbridge. As they're approaching the mansion, Atty does make a comment about being worried that Volke's going to come across uncivilized. He tries to kind of wet his hair down a little bit, but his hair doesn't really work like that. He doesn't have a comb, so he's going his own Harry Potter look as well. And as they step into the mansion's actually fairly empty. But the one thing that they do have is in the main rooms, there's coffins from Atty's family members.
Don't you have coffins of your family members chilling in your house?
Yeah, but they're not in my main room. I keep all the skeletons in the closets.
Oh, that's where they're supposed to go.
You stand them upright, it fits really well.
Okay, we can close the door all the way. Got it.
Yeah.
And that leads us into chapter 22, Resurrecting the Dead. We finally realize that Atty is her true drive about becoming a true form Phoenix Arcanist is so that she can resurrect her uncle and her younger sister, which I had whiplash when I read that because I was like, wait a minute, uncle and younger sister? Like, wait, pump the brakes here. I don't remember that.
Yeah, that one is kind of pushed under the covers from the sound of it.
Volk brings up about Gregory Ruma, and I have to say, in all fairness, though, he did have a plague-ridden phoenix that his wife was married or bonded to, so you can kind of make comparisons because Ruma was trying to achieve a true form with her phoenix, but it was plague-ridden, true, like going towards dread form, and I don't think dread forms would resurrect things.
No, the true form seems to have a little more ground to stand on, and I get the comparison Volk makes, but I don't think it's really much of a comparison. I think Atty's efforts are a little more noble and a little more logically based, just in terms of, okay, this is something achievable. Ruma's just kind of going by his craziness.
Right, and it's not a fair comparison. Just these people are where they belong. I mean, in the sense of they're in a contained area, not necessarily the sitting on a table in their great hall, but their their bodies are where they're supposed to be and not moving.
Stored properly.
We don't want zombies because that's how you get zombies. So Atty does go on the offense as her mother comes in and starts to berate Volk, and her mom moves Volk to the sitting room by themselves. And they said that basically they don't want to be standing around in a room with coffins and bodies in said coffins. Even though Volk is probably not necessarily most uncomfortable with this because he was a gravedigger, not uncomfortable with having coffins around. However, not in the right place. Atty's mom her name is Beva, and she ends up cornering Volk in the sitting room and basically tries to tell Volk how true forms are achieved. It's like she's telling him, who's achieved a true form, how to achieve a true form.
And she's missing step one, like be bonded.
Right. Exactly. Like a true like, come on. She's saying that she talked to other people. She knows.
She did her research. She read the wiki article.
But all she cares about is that a true form phoenix can change fate and it can change the world. And Atty's fame and glory will be never ending and she'll never have to experience loss. I'm pretty certain that her mother just cares about Titania more so than she does Atty. Atty's the means to the end, whereas Titania is the end for becoming true form.
Yeah, you feel like she's given her love for the wrong reasons almost.
Exactly. Now, they spend 5 hours, like 5 hours later, and they finally are leaving the Trixibelle house. And Atty thought that it went amazing.
What would not amazing have looked like? Like, what was her worst case scenario?
I mean, she even said before they got there that her mom wouldn't necessarily just throw him out because that wouldn't be the aristocrat way to do things, or however, I'm trying to say that, but
It's so odd. It's baffling.
I don't know.
It does bring us to chapter 23, which is Attack on the Isle of Ruma. So Atty, after their little conversation, for lack of a better term, wants to have a nighttime walk around the pond, and she's debating if she can heal with fire. So she's had issues with her healing, but she's really good at using her fire. So her thought is, can I somehow use my evocation and my augmentation together and be able to create healing fire instead? And this is similar to what we had a few chapters earlier with Eviana wanting to be able to use her magic while she's actually shadow stepping.
Chapter 14.
Aviana talks about wanting to practice other magics while she's shadow stepping, which is actually a pretty cool concept.
And I'm really wondering if other people can do this as well. Like, are there other magics you can use while using magic? It's a very interesting concept. Volke asks her, do you have any evidence for this? Have you ever been able to do it? And she goes, yeah, this one time I was thinking about you and it just sort of happened. Ooh. They kiss.
Ooh. I can't believe that Volke actually got a kiss. Like, he didn't just get given the kiss, he initiated it.
He didn't hesitate.
Hey, that
save that for later. She does end up falling asleep on his lap, and he doesn't want to wake her and ruin the moment. Luther kind of suggests, like, hey, you should probably do something else. And his argument was, how many moments like this am I really going to have? Which I kind of stand by, Volke. You gotta soak it up at the time. Unfortunately, the moment is ruined by the approach of some plague-ridden creatures.
The war drums are pounding.
Thump, 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 thump.
Or is it his heart for Atty?
Not just his heart.
He's probably like, oh my gosh. Hopefully, like, how do I haven't been in this situation before. Oh my gosh.
Don't stand up. Just stay seated.
I feel like if he stood up, he'd probably get really dizzy.
Yeah. He probably needs to step in the pond, cool himself off.
This is where chapter 24 starts off with Akiva the assassin. And yes, it is Akiva as far as Shami has said. Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry. I love kids. Kids, they do shit to piss you off. And then he's like, Dad, I brought you a cookie. I smashed it when I was trying to knock on the door. Like, God damn it. I love you. Damn it.
Oh, that's tough. That is tough.
But yes, it is Akiva. So we do have the official enunciation of that. So shit hits the fan on the whole isle. And Volke wants to just rush in because it's plague-ridden creatures. Surprise, surprise. The other part of this is Volke wants to rush in to take care of the plague-ridden creatures who only affect those with magic, i.e., people that are bonded to a mystical creature or a mystical creature, which there are none on the Isle of Ruma. This is one of those things that I thought about. I was like, wait a minute, there's nobody on the Isle of Ruma that's bonded with a mystical creature other than maybe somebody from the guild that's not off the guild right now. I understand there's a threat, but there's not really a threat.
It's no worse than other terrible attacks that could happen. It's just a gang of bandits at that point.
A gang of bandits, yes, but a gang of bandits with superpowers. Have you guys already forgotten about the White Heart?
I will admit, though, this was a fairly well-planned attack because they waited until dawn so that they know Volke was at his weakest, essentially, because of the sun coming up. Basically, he will get the least amount of help from the shadows, but he still turns into Batman and flaps over to the roots of Ruma with Atty in the hand.
Pretty freaking cool.
He is Batman. Volke and Batman have never appeared in the same place at the same time. So it could be a possibility.
It's not ruled out, at least.
Exactly. So the salamanders are just pawns. They're just there to destroy things. So Volke feels the pounding of the war drums as Akiva is using his aura to empower himself and just basically try to kill Master Eventide. Again, with the Requiem aura, as more people die, the more Akiva is empowered. Now, while he's basically trying to attack the salamanders, he's like, well, wait a minute, but I need to rush off to warn Eventide. But he also wants to save everybody. And Luther's like, Volk, you need to make a decision.
Stop hesitating.
Stop
Just kiss the girl.
Yes. Yes. That should be the new thing. Instead of stop hesitating, be like, Volk, kiss Atty.
That is going to bring us to chapter 25, Infected. The goal then becomes to kill the Salamander Arcanist. Titania is able to lead them to the slaughter. She's able to kind of fly ahead, figure out where they're supposed to go. As they move on, they find yet another Salamander Arcanist who happens to be bonded to a very fancy gentleman. Doesn't look quite as plague-ridden, but he is in a fight with Zaxxas. So Zaxxas punches him, tries to use his fire. Unfortunately, fire on fire is not effective. We do have the added hurt of another harpy showing up. Zaxxas ends up getting bitten by the salamander. He's able to kill the Arcanist, but still gets bitten. Volke immediately recognizes, hey, he's one of the few people that actually could contract the plague, and goes to take him to the Guildmaster. And we leave off there at a cliffhanger.
Gosh dang it. I do want to say that Volk is described as jumping off of a balcony at some point in the beginning of this chapter, and he just kind of dives into the shadows. This ought to be an Olympic sport of shadow diving, or whatever you want to call this.
Yeah, it's that, like, in the first book or second book, I think Luther's like, shadows don't fall.
And then here Volk is just, I'm going to dive off of the balcony. And I was like, wait, why is he? Oh, yeah.
He's got superpowers.
He does. And then Zaxxas is just punching the fancy. I think of the fancy Arcanist as got in a monocle.
Little top hat going.
Kind
of looks like the Mr. Peanut guy.
Yeah. All right. And with that, we are going to go into our bestiary section. We have a couple of creatures that we're going to go over today. We're going to start with the magma salamanders. These are wingless dragons with the face of an iguana. The mythology kind of fire. They're known for their fire endurance. And the salamander is said to be able to withstand fire and extinguish it. In the ancient Greeks, including Aristotle and Theophrastus, they describe the salamander as having the mastery over fire as early as the 4th century BCE. There's a lot of other connections to magma salamanders. There's ones that can like basically do the opposite, as like an ice salamander to extinguish the flames. If you've ever played the horribly god-awful graphics of, I think, the second Harry Potter video game, we don't really know anything about their trial of worth. We don't know that they're a tier 3 mystical creature. However, based off of other creatures that are in the tier, I would guess fairly reasonably so that they're tier 3. Don't really know anything about their reproduction. Probably has something to do with being in a volcano at some point. Maybe they're hatching eggs in a volcano. Probably somewhere along those lines. They are able to evoke magma. I would have a reasonable guess to say that they're able to manipulate fire along with augment others to be immune to fire, as that is their passive ability, is immunity to fire. And as far as aura, true form appearance, or true form ability, that's really all we know about it. So again, with the magma salamander, we can make a lot of inferences, but we don't quite know too much about them. Maybe in the plague bestiary, we might see some more.
There are a few plague-ridden ones, so...
Yes, there are.
The other mystical creature we're going to cover today is the Rizzle. Do a little bit of updated based on some of the new information. So they're described as being a white ferret-like creature with silver stripes and blue eyes. They do become larger as they grow. They get to be about the size of an adult weasel, but they never really lose their agility, which is good because they are commonly hunted for their pelts, which are used to attract other mystical creatures. The mythology, so the Rizzle is actually one of 3 creatures that was created specifically for the series. Chami said that she loved teleportation, but there aren't many myths that involve teleporting creatures, so the Rizzle was created to kind of fill that role. They're designed to be cute and lovable, but also very tricksy and filled with magic that's very rare to find. Their trial of worth is to recount a tale of cleverness that satisfies the Rizzle. They are tier 2, and they do reproduce through progeny, so they create dens in places that are extremely safe, most of the time in some sort of preserve. They only reproduce after drinking the juice of glint berries, which must be good glint berries.
Want to know more about glintberries now?
Their evocation, they do evoke disintegration flames. So it's a burst of white flame that disintegrates instead of actually setting on fire, teleports tiny pieces around for any matter that it comes into contact with. They are able to manipulate gravity, so they can either increase it or lessen it. Can't quite do it to squish somebody in place by changing the gravity or make things completely weightlessness, but they can allow things to float around, as we saw in Colosseum Arcanist. Their augmentation is teleportation, so either on themselves or others, they're able to teleport, and the more powerful the Arcanist, the farther teleportation and the more objects they can take with them. For passive abilities, they don't get motion sickness. They have incredible balance and smell good to other mystical creatures, and just generally have a good sense of sarcasm.
Can confirm.
For their aura, they do create the Nexus aura. So when a Original Arcanist creates an aura, things begin to shimmer. Random objects just sort of pop in and out of existence. And the type of object is linked to something the Arcanist could be looking for, but you may get something from the future, you may get something from the past. So it's not always quite as useful.
Could be a blender.
It could be a blender. You never know, you might hatch a blender. Their true form is Gaius-driven, so the Arcanist must cleverly defeat and kill a rock in order for their Eldrin to transform. And when they do transform, they develop a longer body, large enough for a human adult to ride on, with catfish-style whiskers, antlers like a stag, and a big fluffy tail. And they shimmer whenever they move. So they sound like this very chimera weasel.
Oh my gosh.
I know, I want a picture of one.
Oh my gosh.
They sound so cool.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Their true form ability is flight. So a true form Rizzle, as well as their Arcanist, can fly through the air without the need for wind or wings. And their speed is based on their capacity to either run or walk. So aren't going super fast, but you don't need to be on ground, which is pretty cool.
But then they get cat style, like whiskers, antlers, and a fluffy tail, and you can ride on it.
I know. It's the most majestic unicorn.
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing. I kind of want to Rizzle now. I will have to say, that's kind of... I don't want to say BS that they have to kill a rock in order to achieve true form, because that's a pretty tall order here.
It is, but they're clever creatures, so, it's not that you have to necessarily like fight it one-on-one and a battle to the death. So you can use some sneak attacks or some other secret moves.
Right, and I imagine with the teleportation around, it could be done. That is a very
tall order.
Yes, it is. All right. We do want to thank everybody for listening today. And just a quick reminder, as far as the bestiary for the Plague Bestiary, books 3 and 4 of Shammy Stovall's Frith Chronicles, that is going live to order or to get involved in with the Kickstarter. So don't forget about that. We'll make sure we do get the link down in the description for you guys to get over to that. And as far as any more information goes, I know we have Labyrinth Arcanist is coming out here soon. For those that have been are in the Astra Academy series, I know she said she's working with Ryan Tang about the next and final book in the Crown Tournament series. She's got a book called 6 Words. I think she said she's going to change the title of, but currently that's the one that we have right now. And I think that's about everything.
Eric, Scott, and I want to thank everyone for listening today. We post a new episode every Wednesday morning at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, and 8 Pacific Standard Time. We are on all podcasting platforms and are also on YouTube as well for video. After the additional episode airs, we post chapter-by-chapter videos every day in a smaller, easier-to-digest format. We do want to give a special shout-out to the final member of our team, Dan Mackison, one of the admins for the Frith Chronicles Wiki, link listed below, and doing his best to keep everything running smoothly behind the scenes. If you want to reach out to us, you could email us at frithguildpod@gmail.com or on Facebook or any other social media by searching for Frith Guild Podcast. Just to remind everybody, we have links to everything in the description below on both the podcast and YouTube. Scott, do you have anything else you want to add this week?
Second Time Warp Warlock coming in like a month or two as well, so...
Oh my gosh, yes. November. Oh my goodness. So many books.
I don't understand. Like, does she write 23 hours a day? It makes no sense to me.
Well, we love that she does, if she does. Hopefully she's taking time for herself. But with that, I think we'll catch you guys next week.